The skies above Pokrovsk vibrate with the deadly hum of small engines. From high above, the electronic eyes of drones from Ukraine's elite 3rd SOF Regiment scout every inch of the ruins, where Russian invaders try to hide from the terror that continues to hunt them beneath the rubble. Buildings that once stood tall are now mere skeletons, walls collapsed, roofs destroyed, and only rubble remains. But behind broken bricks and dark shadows, the invaders cower, hoping to escape the fury of unseen eyes, and that hope is quickly dashed. A hotspot is detected, a faint movement, a body straining to defend itself, and the drone immediately dives, descending at lethal speed. The first blast hits hard, ripping through the fragile armor and shaking the already fragile foundations of the house, smoke and dust billowing into the air as the last walls collapse on those hiding within. It doesn't stop there. The Ukrainian pilot calmly locks on a new target, a second, then a third. Each impact sent a wave of destruction, burying anyone still breathing beneath the rubble, while from above, it was clear there was no escape route and no cover. The ruins had become a death trap. On the screen, the enemy's final movements seemed to halt, their bodies buried beneath brick, concrete, and the shadow of destruction. They had come as invaders, but were swallowed up by a foreign land, unmarked and nameless. This brief operation was not just an attack. Its brutality served as proof and a powerful message. In Pokrovsk, there was no safe haven for Russians. The ruins they had chosen for refuge had instead become unmarked graves for them. At the same time, there was alarming news from Pokrovsk. Azov's mission exploits Russian overextension. Troops pushed 13 kilometers in 4 days, but left flanks exposed. Here, the Russians pushed their breakthrough on the eastern flank in a surprise direction, putting the new Ukrainian Donbos defense line to the northwest in critical danger before it could be manned. With the gap already exploited by the enemy, the Ukrainian command now has a brief window to fix the situation by redeploying its most lethal unit, the Azov Brigade. After the initial Russian push on the eastern flank, the expectation was that Russian forces would try to repeat their Avdiivka playbook, encircling Pokrovsk from the east through a slow tightening of the flanks. Instead, Russian commanders made a sharper and bolder move as they identified a thinly held section of the Ukrainian line to the north and rushed it before proper defense and coordination could be established. The push was aimed not only at threatening Pokrovsk, but also at undermining the newly constructed Donbos defense line, a layered system of trenches, fortified points, and natural barriers designed to slow attackers until drone operators and mobile reserves could respond. Over several days, Russian forces advanced between Shakov and Dobropilya, using infiltration tactics to seize or contest multiple settlements. Russian troops used the tree lines to infiltrate the settlements, where they began building up forces. They pushed into several of them, making gains and breaking through at almost 13 kilometers deep in around 3 to 4 days. Alarmingly, they then pressed forward and bypassed the newly built heavy fortifications with ease while they were unmanned, threatening to turn these strongpoints against Ukrainian defenders. Now, they are attempting to entrench near Novovodiany, pressing toward the Dobropilya-Kramatorsk highway. This advance was in part made possible by a breakdown in Ukrainian coordination. Although the armed forces have largely overcome past issues with communication and transparency, in this most critical sector of the front line, the old weakness resurfaced. Commanders from one brigade reported to higher headquarters that the situation was under control, claiming that all enemy forces had been neutralized, even as soldiers on the ground urgently reported ongoing Russian infiltration and force buildup. A A shortage of manpower meant that even well-prepared defensive positions were left underdefended, while the integrated response, combining drones, artillery, and aviation, failed to be deployed with the speed and cohesion required to stop the enemy advance. Government-linked Russian analysts publicly downplayed the gains, calling them reconnaissance and infiltration operations, not a breakthrough, further playing into the Ukrainian underestimation of the Russian threat. But in reality, once the gap was found, the Russian command sent actual assault forces, not just small sabotage teams. This also reveals a failure of Ukrainian reconnaissance and intelligence. As if drone surveillance here had been sufficiently layered and constant, such movements would likely have been detected and targeted long before they reached such dangerous depth. The urgency of the situation is underscored by a public letter from a prominent Azov Brigade commander to President Zelensky. He warned that once the Russians take control of Ukraine's defensive structures, removing them will be close to impossible. The only viable response is an immediate pincer maneuver to cut off the spearhead from reinforcement, followed by a clearing operation. However, a swift, coordinated counter-offensive while the Russians are still consolidating could succeed, but hesitation would all but guarantee long-term loss of the area. As a result of the danger, the Azov Brigade has now been redeployed to the Pokrovsk sector, indicating the Ukrainian High Command's intent to act decisively, as the stakes extend far beyond Pokrovsk. The Russian gains threaten not just the town, but the broader Donbas defense line and multiple settlements in the Ukrainian-controlled part of Donetsk Oblast. If unhindered, this penetration could unravel months of fortification work and open the way for deeper Russian advances. Overall, by moving one of the most experienced and feared formations into the sector of Pokrovsk, Ukraine recognizes both the danger and the need to correct earlier mistakes and failures. The coming days will be decisive, as if Ukrainian forces can seal off and destroy the Russian spearhead, they will not only save Pokrovsk, but also preserve the integrity of the Donbas defense system.